You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at consciousevolutionmedia.com.
Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artists magazines at CIAartists.com, endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide. Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org.
Welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul Show on Real Coaching Radio Network. How would you like to attempt to demystify with us the realms of the mind, body, and soul to bring you a more holistic and balanced way of living? Healthier in all realms of the psyche, the spirit, and the body. Here is your host and executive producer, Coach Steve Toth.
Welcome everybody to the Mind, Body, and Soul Show on the Conscious Evolution Media Network. This is our second day with our new network, and I'd like to welcome our first segment guest, Jessica McGregor Johnson, who is joining us from that beautiful country called Spain. And she is a coach, an NLP practitioner, and a life coach, and many other things. I'm sure that we're going to know all about her in the next half hour. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Thank you. It's lovely to be with you.
Same here. So if I have taken all of these titles that you just mentioned and all the other titles that anybody has ever called you, what would be left? Who would be Jessica McGregor Johnson?
Someone who has explored her own life and started to look at the question of who am I, the deeper question, and wants to take that and share that with anyone who wants to ask the same question of themselves.
Fantastic. Now, interestingly, I believe that people asking that question, who am I, in getting the answer is one of the most challenging things in people's lives. How did you get to yours?
Well, through a kind of a long and winding road, to quote a certain song by the Beatles. I was Material Girl 101 for a while. I had the thatched cottage with the roses over the door and the brand new car and lots of holidays every year, and thought that I had done everything that was supposed to make me happy and fulfilled. And I shall never forget the day that I drove my brand new car up the hill and looked down on it all and realised that it had no meaning. It was empty for me. I did the radical thing. I packed 2 suitcases and left and started off on my quest and my journey. And what I do when I work with people now is maybe help them find their own answers without being quite so radical if they don't want to. But I started to just search. I knew I was on a path. I knew I was missing something. There was a huge question mark in my own personal life. And so I just started to look and read every single thing that I could read. And one day somebody walked in and handed me a correspondence course, and I read it and went, yep, that's my truth. And what I realized at that point is that there are many, many truths. They all lead to the same place, but there's always one there that resonates with each individual person. And once you find that, then you can start to deepen that question and look for what's really important in life. And I went on to go and live in an ashram for 4 years to deepen my quest and find out more about who I was and who I am now.
Yeah, we have a lot in common. I've done that too. There's probably a lot of things, and I travel the world. And interestingly, I feel that for a long time I was looking for the answers outside in the world. Like, for me, there were always these shiny objects. Let's check that out. That looks really good. Let's let's check that one out. And all of this searching and looking and wondering when am I going to find the answer was actually always within myself. Did you find that to be true?
Absolutely. And I think for me, when I did leave the world for a while and kind of went to live in the ashram, was when I was almost forced to look inwards because there was nothing else to take my attention. And I find that for me, that was when it was a real inward journey. And I knew when after I was there for 4 years and I came to a point where I realized that I understood what this really inward journey was, and now it was time to take it out in the world, because in some ways when you're cloistered away from the world, it's quite easy to be on that inward journey. It's challenging because you're in a challenging situation, but it's an easier thing. And actually leaving and then carrying on that inward journey in the world, I think that's where I learned even more. And that's what I tend to bring with when I'm working with women particularly, is that it's very much about, you can have that inward journey. You don't have to leave the world to have the inward journey. You just have to want it enough, and then people can find a way to start connecting. And I think a lot of people in the world at the moment, they've gone through all the shiny, sparkly stuff, and they're going, well, that's not it. And it's disappointing and it's disillusioning for a lot of people. And I think the more to kind of let people know that it's an inward looking journey, the kind of the better for everybody out there.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it a better way. And interestingly, a lot of people love to be in this conversation, and that is one of the reasons why I started this network 9 years ago. And now I felt that we have kind of outgrown just the personal development industry itself, and now we're going worldwide, because it's really about consciousness, and it's really, for me, and it's really about living in this present moment and connecting with ourselves and with each other. And I don't know, how do you find it in your life and in what you do, but for me it seems like the only thing that makes sense anymore.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's the only thing that makes sense of the world anymore. There seems to be a real challenge for many people through many different things that are happening in the world. And when I look at the world on a daily basis and when I talk to people, for me, the only thing that helps me make sense of that is to stand back and see the bigger picture about what life and what consciousness is about and what our lives are for, and the journey that we have through our lives. I'm sure you do, in the work that you do, you get to meet people who have met with adversity or tragedy or trauma or unhappiness and many different emotions that are going on. And if you try and make sense of it on that kind of basic level, you're never going to make sense of it. The only way to do it is to step back and say, well, what's this about? What is this? Where is this leading me? What am I learning from this? What are the patterns that I need to stop repeating in my life constantly? And I think we're being challenged in an even greater way at the moment to really become aware. I think if I say it, the thing I say most to all the people I work with is very much about, this is about awareness. When you become aware of a tendency or a pattern or a kind of something that's led you astray for many years, then
what does that mean, Jessica? A lot of people wonder, we have these conversations, and I know the viewers are asking, what do you mean by being aware? What does that mean?
Awareness for me is bringing something into your present moment consciousness. We have for example, we can have a tendency to do something, to react in a certain way without even thinking. Somebody will say a certain kind of thing and it will trigger an action inside of us and we will react in a certain way. When you can shine the light of awareness on something like that, you can see the habit that you have or the trigger that you have. That knowledge is awareness. That knowledge gives you the power to choose to change how you are in your own world. And I think as we become more and more conscious, what happens is that instead of being the automan that we tend to go through and just automatically react to things that are going in life, we start to notice what we're doing. We start to become present in the world, and that to me is what awareness is about. There's other deeper levels of awareness, but the first level has to be the conscious level of awareness, of just who am I and how do I work in this world? How does my personality play out in this world? And once we understand and see that, then if we want to, we can choose to change it.
That's awesome, Jessica. Yeah, so it's really noticing that we are more than just our egos.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah, so if we can witness that there is this thing called ego, we got it made.
And also, if we could just witness ourselves. One of the things that I practice is that if I'm walking down a street, if we're not present and aware in that simple action, where I am walking down a street. And sometimes what I practice is sitting down, particularly if I'm walking with somebody, I kind of take that half step back and go, there are two people walking down the street. And I become the witness of myself walking down the street. It's a very simple technique. It's not a kind of really deep technique, but what it does is it just wakes you up to being aware of myself and my place in the world at this moment in time.
I'm so excited because you're describing it so well. So who is this one that's noticing the ego? Who's that?
There's many words for it. If any particular word really does it justice. For me, that's another level of awareness. It's an awareness that is, you could call it soul, you could call it spirit, you could call it Atman, there's many different words in many different traditions, but it's the greater part of us. It's the higher awareness that doesn't understand what the whole separateness of us as individuals are about. That's a very odd way of saying it, but you know what I mean. It's like that part that notices that we are walking down the street is the part that feels connected with everything. That's the part that understands the bigger picture. That's the wiser part of ourselves. It's the part that we touch into when we're in a deep meditative state. That kind of calm depth. For me, when I meditate, I have that feeling of just dropping into a real deep place, and it's that deep place that is a greater awareness of who we are in this universe.
Yes, and I call it the new self, but it doesn't matter what we call it. We've been calling it all kinds of names for hundreds and thousands of years. It doesn't matter. But what's cool for me is that is the one that has the ability to connect with the rest of the universe and with everything. The ego part doesn't have that ability. The only thing ego knows is
itself.
all the information itself, and all the information that we have in our database, and we have trillions of pieces of information.
And it appropriates it to itself too. So there's always that I part of us. There was that lovely thing that Ramakrishna said, and he described the ego and the self, the soul, and he said the ego is like the coachman who's driving the coach and horses. He thinks he's in charge, but actually it's the soul or the self who's sitting inside the coach who's actually giving the directions. And when we're unaware, the coachman just thinks he's in charge and he's always driving the horses. But the more aware we become, the more aware we are of who's inside the coach, then there's a shift of balance and there's a shift of kind of who's running the show. And I think that's what our journey of who am I is about, is kind of dropping the thought that we're in charge and we're driving the coach, and realizing that actually there's something much more powerful behind us who's sitting very quietly there, waiting for us to
And it's
notice.
always been there.
Yes, always.
Yes, yes. It's just we made the mistake of giving the key to the car to the ego and letting the ego drive all the time.
Yeah.
But since we are an interactive network, and I told you that we are in a number of live networks, we just got featured on Block TV, which means lots of people are. Anybody that goes to Block TV right now, we are on the front page, and we are the only show that's on the front page right now, so that's kind of pretty awesome. So welcome everybody from Block TV. We're having this fantastic conversation with Jessica McGregor Johnson, and we're talking about how to find really who we really are. And there is nothing I don't feel that we can do for ourselves as a loving gesture than to find out who we really are. Right, Jessica?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be in touch with your heart, follow your passions in your life, and really, get in touch with that. What does your heart want? I mean, that's the key, isn't it? It's like, come out of your mind. Your mind's a really useful tool. And I think the first thing, one of the things I ever learned was that I'm not my mind. And that's a radical thought for a lot of people. It's like, I'm sorry, what do you mean? I mean, we're taught to believe every thought we think. We're taught to kind of listen to the mind and rationalize things. And, when I say to work with people, I say, forget your mind. Your mind's a tool. We'll use it later when we need to get things done. But actually, that's not where the decision comes from. Get in touch with your heart. That's what will lead you in a true way. And so this whole journey is a journey to the heart.
Absolutely. Right on, Jessica. And I had somebody questioning me yesterday on the network, in one of the networks, and he was just shooting out lots of questions, and I basically responded is that I have nothing to prove to you. And matter of fact, stop asking these questions because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Because anything that I'm going to respond to you with, it's going to be from my mind, and what I already know is not really that important anymore. What's important to me is what I don't know that I don't know.
Yeah.
Isn't that where possibility lives, Jessica?
Absolutely, I agree with you, and I think that's the question that we can only answer our own questions. For the person who you were speaking with, it's like you can't give him the answers for him because you're not him. And it's the same with anybody. It's like people will ask questions, and I will always say, well, come back to you. What feels right for you? Where does it lie within you? How does that feel within your body? What's the feedback you're getting when you think a certain way or you have a certain insight? And I think this is a never-ending journey. We're never supposed to know it all. We're on a journey of discovery.
It's just an experience. All we're having is lots of experiences, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is
sometimes
fantastic.
I speak to people and they say, but I just want to know it's all going to be all right. And I go, but wouldn't it be boring if you suddenly were given a book and here was your whole life and everything you were going to learn and everything you were going to understand about yourself, and there was nothing
The user guide. The user guide everybody's looking for.
And it's how boring would life be if you suddenly knew that for the next 40 years or however many years you've got left, you knew everything that was going to happen. I can't think of anything worse.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So I want to get back to how do we really find out who we really are, because you went about it in a very adventurous way, which of course I love because I'm just as adventurous as you are. But not everybody is like you and I. A lot of people maybe don't even have the financial means right now to do that, to just go to India and meditate for the next 4 years. However, what could you suggest to our viewers, regardless, it's not about how much money you have, it's not about how much time you have, it's not about any of that. What is it that they could be engaged with, they could be doing right now, being in action about, to find out who they really are? The biggest gift people can give to themselves.
Well, firstly, to set the intention to do it. I think that's huge. I think people often get to that point where they kind of know there's something else, but it's a bit scary because it challenges them, or it might upset their life or upset the status quo. So the first step is to just say, I'm going to do it anyway. And take that inner commitment, that inner intention to follow what comes unsought. Now that might seem an odd thing to say, but I'm a great believer that and I can only talk from my own experience. My experience was that when I started to say, okay, I want to know, I want to understand who I am, I want to understand this question, I know there's something bigger, and it might take me in a direction that I'm unaware of, it probably will, but I still want to set the intention. It almost came to me. And what I noticed is that I think what people can do is, if you set the intention to actually follow whatever comes, in other words, you will start to notice a book will jump off a shelf at you. Pick it up and read it. Don't just go, oh, that's interesting. Or you might notice a course.
Are you referring to having people paying attention
Yes.
to coincidences?
Absolutely. But the first thing is, if you don't set the intention to explore this question, you won't notice the book on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is that you need to put a kind of like a big question inside of you, and a willingness to go and do something different. Set aside time in your day, even if it's only half an hour, to do something different, to read that book, to go and learn to meditate, to listen. There's so much information out there. There's so many, free recordings. There's people, things like your great TV, they're all the back issues and things like that. There's a lot of information out there. So once you've actually said, I'm going to do this, I need to know more, and I'm going to take that step over that line and set the intention.
And what is it?
Follow up.
Jessica, what is it specifically that I'm going to do? You keep referring to, I'm going to do this. What am I going to do specifically?
What, as in setting an intention, or after you set the intention?
Both.
Okay.
Let's be more specific.
Okay. An intention is literally just a statement. It's a statement, an internal strong statement. It's very different from, I'm going to try and find out. I intend to find out. It's an inner feeling inside of you. You're at this place in your life where you know there's more, but you don't know how to do it. You're a bit scared of it. You're not sure where it'll lead you. Firstly, you have to go, okay, I'm going to do it. And then you have to start looking. Go to some bookstores. There's lots of different books out there that will help you move forward and understand who you are. There's reading lists everywhere. That's how I started. I literally started reading lots of books, and I'd read a book and I'd go, nope, that's not it. And I'd read another one and go, no, that's not it. Until I got to the point where I read one and went, aha, that's it. That resonates with me, because that's another thing. There's a lot of information out there and a lot of people who are talking about this who am I question, and what am I doing in this world, and how I can become more aware. And some of it will feel right, and others will not feel right. So follow the one that feels right.
Yeah. So Jessica, what you're saying is people need to pay attention to their own truth. I always say this on the network. Don't listen to what I say. I mean, listen to what I say, but don't do everything I say to you. Just do what resonates with you, because it's within you what
exactly.
makes
That's
the
what I
difference
mean.
and what's
it's got
important.
To feel right inside of you.
This is not about me. It's about you,
Yeah.
the viewer.
Yeah. So
And I'm not looking for
individual-
I'm not looking for creating an ashram. I'm not looking for being a guru.
No, me neither.
Listen to yourself, your
Yeah.
own self. Yeah.
And that's why I say some things will resonate with people, and that's the ones to listen to. And have an inquiring mind. I heard this wonderful phrase years and years ago that when you come across something that feels different but interesting, suspend no and replace it with oh. And have that inquiring mind. So it's very easy when you look at all this information out there that you push it away because it's one step too far. And what I say to people is that go down the road a bit, read something, look into something, and then once you get more information, then you'll know if it's right for you or not. And if it's not, just reverse, go back and go and have another look at one. So just have an inquiring mind, be open to possibilities, and you'll know whether it feels right for you. You'll feel it
Jessica,
inside your own body.
Jessica, so this is an example. We just gave a 30-minute example to people what consciousness looks like and feels like, because we were present with ourselves and we were connected with ourselves and each other.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, it didn't feel like 30 minutes, did it? Because it's
No,
30
it
minutes is
didn't,
over.
did it?
People go, oh, we're going to be on a show for a half hour, or with our VIP guests, we are on the show for an hour, and they go, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm going to do for a whole hour. And I say, don't worry about it, because it will go by so fast that it will feel like a minute. So
Exactly.
we're getting ready to wrap up. I just want to also acknowledge you for the beautiful website that you have.
Thank you.
Whatever work you put into that, it has paid off, because when I went there, I didn't want to leave.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
So tell our viewers about your website and how do you wish to be contacted when all of this stuff resonates with them, either now on the live show or on the archives.
Okay, well, the website is, you'll probably have it somewhere, it's my name, JessicaMcGregorJohnson.com. And on the website, I have a lot of resources for people, so a lot of kind of free resources to help people take that first step effectively. There's a free video course called Feel Better Right Now, which is about getting yourself into a better space so that what change you want to create in your life, you can. I've got a couple of books. The book that I wrote in 2008 called Remembering Perfection, which is the book that I wrote about living your spirituality in an everyday way. It's the book I wrote after I left the ashram, when I was working out, well, now what do I do with it all? And I've recently written another book called The Right T-Shirt, which is for people who've been there, done that, and got the wrong one, effectively, and now need to have that inward journey and find out what the right one looks like. So I'd love people to go on there, help themselves to the free resources. They can read the first 2 chapters of my recent book for free on the website. You can sign up for I have a monthly newsletter where I kind of send an inspirational article out and just like to keep the conversation going. And you can contact me through the website. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to have an internet, have a chat with them through the email. So please do interact with me. I always love to hear what people have to say.
Fantastic, Jessica. Again, I want to acknowledge you for being who you are in the world, which is helping and teaching people how to find out who they really are. I can't imagine a more important job. Jessica, you took on a big one.
Well, thank you. You too, for what you do with this kind of making it available for so many people in the world.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. I loved every minute that you were on our network. Hopefully you'll come back soon, and in the meantime, nobody go anywhere, because this is just half the show. We're going to go to a very short commercial break while I'll bring up our next guest, who is Jen White, joining us from California. So don't go away. We will be right back.
Would you like to put your front-end marketing system on autopilot? We'll provide you with pre-built squeeze pages, sales pages, e-commerce integration, and membership portals to capture more leads, deliver more content, convert more sales, and keep clients for the long term. For more information, go to www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664. Do you need a marketing and branding engine to drive leads into your website and product funnels? We will distribute your video, audio, blog content, and build backlinks, including social proof, and much more, to all corners of the internet, designed to attract prospects and the search engines. Visit www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664 for more information.
Would you like to host your own internet TV show? Express that one thing that you're passionate about to millions of people? Speak your mind. Create deeper and longer-lasting relationships with your viewers. Create value, deliver results, and effectively build your personal brand. For more information, go to www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664.
You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at consciousevolutionmedia.com. Would you like to put your front-end marketing system on autopilot? We'll provide you with pre-built squeeze pages, sales pages, e-commerce integration, and membership portals to capture more leads, deliver more content, convert more sales, and keep clients for the long term. For more information, go to www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664. You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at consciousevolutionmedia.com. Today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. If you're just tuning in, you're joining the Mind, Body, and Soul show on Conscious Evolution Media Network. And our second guest of the hour is Jen White. She's joining us from California. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. Can you adjust your audio a little bit? It's a little bit too loud.
Oh.
And while you're doing that, I'm just going to tell all of our viewers what you do. So, Jen is a coach, as well as she's a Reiki master, and she's been doing this type of work for well over 20 years. So, Jan, if I took all those titles away that I just mentioned and all the other titles that people have ever called you, what's left? Who is Jen White? Like, really?
Well, I guess the best way to explain that is to explain to you what happened to me back in 1985. How about that? I woke up one morning, and it was a typical same-day kind of situation, and all of a sudden, I was knee-deep in spiritual emergence. And I didn't know until 2 years after that there was this process called spiritual emergence. I didn't know what it was. I just knew there was absolute intensity, 24 hours a day, and I was an absolute sponge for learning anything and everything about spirituality. And this happens to some people, usually after a life-threatening illness or a car accident or something like that. But with me, it was just waking up one morning. And what it did, it threw me into, I guess you could say, for the remainder of my life and ongoing, an agent of change, uncovering how change works and helping people to master change, because I educate them, I help them to understand the process. It's like a manufacturing process, the process in change, so they don't have to go into the emotional abyss of frustration and paranoia and fear when they're going through change. And that's what I do, and that's the knowledge that I have, is to help people to become empowered and to master their life and attain their desires by knowing how to go through this process and become more empowered, go through their evolution, and to attain what they want in life because they don't give up. They don't have to give up. That's who I am.
Okay. So, in short, you are a change agent.
Yes.
Okay. So, usually when we even mention the word change, Jan, what do people usually are called to do?
What are they called to do? Well, when you mention the word change to the majority of people, what comes up is absolute fear. Because they don't know what's around the bend. They don't know what's behind that door. And so they just give up on life. They crawl into a corner, and they don't have to, because nobody, not even their parents or grandparents or teachers or any authority figures, nobody has ever taught them what change is about and what happens in change in order to enable them to be in control.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. So I could say that I could use an example that would be similar to what people feel when there is change about to come. It would be probably similar to when we walk into a store and somebody wants to sell us something. Would you say that's fairly accurate?
Yes. Because all of a sudden you're backing off. You're backing into the corner. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't
sell me anything. I don't trust you. I don't want to buy. I didn't come into the store to buy something. I just came here to look.
But on the other hand, let's say somebody really wants something in their life, a relationship or a material object or something like that. And they say, okay, I'm ready. I want this brand new red Porsche or whatever it is. And they're committed, they think, to having it and wanting it. Well, then, all of a sudden, this process called change kicks in, and they're not ready for that. They just think, oh, just because they want something and it's right in their soul, they can feel it, that it's just going to come to them the next day. And what they don't understand is that it takes this process of change to eliminate the bottlenecks that are holding them back from getting that desire, that red Porsche, or that good relationship, or whatever it is. They give up.
Okay, so hang on for a second, Jen. So you describe it really well. What we first do is we create something, we create an idea. I mean, everything that has ever been made on this planet came from somebody's thought first, correct?
Well, no, not really. The thought comes from above. You can say it comes from their higher self or the ethereal realm. I consider it destiny. That all of a sudden this thought comes through them because that's part of their path. That's what their life is about, or it's going to be about, is going on this journey to get this, whatever it is that they desire. The thought
and it may be a lesson.
Excuse me?
It may be just a lesson.
Exactly. It's the journey that is important in their life, not really the attainment. And yet it's the attainment that they are working towards and that they hopefully will get because they haven't given up.
Right. So I can tell you from personal experience, Jan, is that this was a long time ago, before I was even conscious, that I thought of I needed to have a BMW.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew exactly the kind of BMW I wanted. Matter of fact, I was so connected to it that I could feel it, touch it.
Right.
From that point on, I printed pictures of it, put it all over me on the wall. I went to BMW stores to look. I went window shopping, and I even gone as far as telling everybody around me that I'm going to have this car, doesn't matter what.
So you mastered step 1, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But then guess what? Step 2, 3, and 4 kick in.
Yes, I agree with you. Then, see, if I would have stopped right there, because a lot of people can do step 1, because it's really not that hard.
Right.
But then if you stop there, you will never manifest it.
Exactly.
Okay? So then, what's the next thing that needs to happen, Jan?
Well, you explain step 1, which is the visualization. Then the next thing is you make a commitment that is exactly what you want, and that you're committed to going through the process. Mm-hmm. Once you do that, the universe. Okay, you wanted, what was that kind of car? Oh, the BMW.
It was a BMW. And
okay.
And by the way, I want to clarify.
Okay.
I made the commitment that said, I'm going to have this car, doesn't matter what, at any cost. Whatever I have to do, I'm going to have it.
Okay, that's the commitment. That the commitment is between you and the universe, you and God, you and Source, whatever vocabulary feels comfortable. That kicks in the process, okay? And the process is the universe then says, okay, Steve, I hear you. You say you want this BMW. What color?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want
black.
Stick shift or
it was
automatic?
Black. It was black, automatic. It was a 745i.
Okay.
I even knew all the features. I knew everything because I studied it.
Okay. So then we come up with, the universe is going to say, what are your priorities? Let's say your priority is that it's extremely important for you to be honest. Okay? And someone comes along with exactly the same kind of car that you want, and it's at a fantastic price, but you know it was stolen. So, would you take it, knowing that it's stolen? If you... No. So the universe says, okay, great, I hear you. Your priorities are important. Your boundaries are important. All right. So what the universe is doing is, it's slowly, by giving you opportunities, presenting situations, it's asking you questions to fine point exactly what you want in the manner that fits your contract with life. And that's really what this process is the universe keeps bringing situations into your life to question you on, is this what you want? Are you sure this is what you want? Are you really willing to stay committed to this? And that's what this process is about. When it accomplishes exactly what you want...
Okay, Jen, hang on for a second.
Okay.
Would you also say that in this process, there's going to be challenges, not all the time, but sometimes there's going to be challenges presented to test you, to make sure that you really want it bad enough?
Most definitely. That's also part of the process, is to, once you've made this commitment, that the universe will still bring you the situations, like I said, to fine point it, but to also make sure that you remain committed to it. The other thing is, you cannot force. People think, oh, well, if I want this, I'll just go ahead and go out and screw life, I'm just going to steal one. Well, that's forcing. And anytime you force life in a certain way, it doesn't work out. It's more negative than before. The other thing is to be able to surrender. Steve, you wanted this BMW. And if you keep thinking about it night and day, and everything you do is about this BMW, then what
I
you're
was
doing
obsessed,
is
Jan.
I'm sorry?
I was obsessed about it.
Oh, well, see, you've got to go into surrender. You have to know, and that's where faith and trust come in. You have to know with a capital K, it's going to happen. And a lot of people can't let go. And part of the process is to know it's going to happen and to allow life to unfold. You're not God. You don't know how and where and when things are going to be put in place for this BMW to come into your life in the right way. Another example, let's say someone wants a house, okay? And they go down this neighborhood and they say, oh man, there's this perfect house. I want this house. And they're so, what's house? And that's what they want. And what happens is the owner dies. And that's the only way that this person got that house is by the owner dying. Is that the type of situation that you want? In other words, you can't be so specific that you are forcing an unnatural situation to happen. You have to be specific and yet not as specific as fine-tuning it so much that you have to have that one particular BMW that's on the car lot right there. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you mean you want to allow it to...
It's got to unfold in a natural way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. To be able to unfold and have it come to you when it's time.
And the right one. For you, it was a BMW, a black BMW, but not necessarily that one black BMW that you saw parked across the street at that house. It has to be the right BMW with the options that you like coming to you.
Well, guess what? I did manifest it. I did get it. And the story is that it was really a lesson. It wasn't really about the BMW. It was about me, because I put a lot of trust and effort into material things. So the lesson was for me is, I've got the car because I wanted to feel good, and I wanted people to see how successful I was. And what I learned is that nobody really cared that I had a BMW. Matter of fact, they probably said, that guy's probably paying $700-800 a month for that damn car, and it's got the same 4 tires my car does, and it gets me to point A to point B the same way his does. So people probably have said that. But I didn't get that at the time. I thought that it was really important. The way I looked and the way I presented myself was really important to me, because that's just who I was back then. Well, since then things have changed. I've called the leasing company and told them to come get it. It's no longer, it doesn't define anymore who I am, and really I can't even afford it. So next time I'm going to have a BMW, it's going to be when it doesn't matter. I don't have to look in my checkbook to see if I could make the payment. So
okay, but Steve, that process that you went through, your higher self had set that up for you to learn exactly that lesson. That's why it happened. And the thing about going through change happens in your life, either voluntarily or involuntarily. Voluntarily meaning that you desire something. Involuntarily meaning you just got laid off from work or something like that. But change the process of going through change, what it does, it pushes us to rediscover who we really are at the core level. That's what the whole thing is about. And that is making a contract between yourself and the universe, or yourself, your higher self, or, source, God. It's making a contract of, this is who I really am. This is what my priorities are. This is what I stand for. This is the direction I'm going in life. And when you put this contract together, this rediscover who you really are, when you put it together, then every decision you make in life must conform to this contract. That's what you use the contract for, is, honesty, let's say if that's on your contract, is the most important thing. Then any situation coming in your life, you have to stand up for that priority. Or you're giving conflicting decisions to the universe, and the universe then doesn't know what the heck you want and won't give you when you're asking for something. And this is this understanding of how the change process works, and this rediscovery, this process of putting together who you really are. These are the things that I help my clients do.
Great, Jan. So getting back to my experience, so back then, and again, this goes back probably more than 12 years. So back then, who I was is a person that was not awake, I was not conscious, and I was on this journey of proving to the world that I was somebody. Underneath that, feeling that I was a nobody. So it was completely congruent at the time that what my truth was is I needed to have a BMW to show people that I was somebody. Except it was false, because that wasn't really the real me. That was the false me. I just didn't know it at the time. So the lesson was fantastic because it got me to where I am today.
To who you are today. Yes.
Which is who I am today.
Right.
It was part of the process. And today, the kind of car that I'm driving doesn't get to define who I am. You're smiling.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Especially people who are approaching 40 years old and above. What happens is, a lot of people call it midlife crisis. But the first 40-some years of a person's life is childhood. You go through, like you were just saying, where the BMW was everything. It showed to you who you were, when it really didn't. But after the age of approximately 40, from 40 to 52, all of a sudden, these basic fundamentals and the issues that are holding us back surface, usually pushing us headfirst into this corner of looking at them whether we want to or not. And so this journey of change is really stuck right in their face, especially at that time in their life. And that's when you look at, who am I? What's important? What do I stand for? Do I really want to be part of the crowd? Is my ego going to control my life the way it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's great, Jan. So we are a live network, and we are in a number of them being broadcasted right now, one of which is Blog TV. So let's take some comments and questions. So here's Kay Jade saying that I wouldn't want to focus on something material, because once you have got it, you won't have anything else to focus on. So I'll let you respond to that in a second, Jan. But what I want to say to that, KJ, is for me, that's not really how it works. You see, people, when they're not awake and not conscious, they're making lists because they think once they get to the end of the list that they have arrived and now they're happy and joyful. And unfortunately, that's not how it works, because as soon as you get to the bottom of the list, You tear it off and you're starting a new list. It's a never-ending process, and Jan is laughing. So as soon as I got the BMW, guess what? I was already on to the next thing.
Well, you're right.
Because
that list
I had an insatiable appetite for things.
The list becomes even more complicated because you're becoming more complicated. You're learning even more things in life, more values, more priorities, more philosophies, and life is purposely giving you that information, that knowledge, so that it can take you on a more evolutionary path. Your path doesn't end until you die. So your list doesn't end until you leave this planet.
Yeah, so actually, KJ said that, and then you have to go through the whole process again with another thing. You're absolutely right, KJ. So I'm going to clear the chat room in there because there's somebody in there saying things that I don't really care for. So, getting back to, oh my God, it's 2:58. Jane, look what happens. Our shows are over so quickly.
Well, I'd be more than happy to come back and continue our conversation.
Well, I hope you will, because you have a lot to offer to a lot of our viewers, and we should probably finish up with, why don't you share with our viewers your website and how would you like to be contacted? There's a lot of viewers on the live show and also on the archive shows.
Okay, well, my website is www.artistryofchange.net, not .com, but .net. You can also email me at janwhite@artistryofchange.net, or you can give me a call on my cell, which is 509-230-1964. If you view my website, there's a lot of information on there. I was also a wellness columnist, and there's several columns on there that you can view for some answers. And there's also some CDs and workshops information on there too. I would be tickled pink to receive any of your emails, and I'll be more than happy to answer. historyofchange.net. Thank you so much, and thank you, Steve, for allowing me to be on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. We love to have you. And in closing, I just want to acknowledge you for doing what you do in the world, which is you're talking about one of the most challenging things that people face every day, which is change. How to go through the process of change and how to actually welcome it. I got to a place of my life, Jen, where now I thrive on change, and I noticed that that's what nature does. That's what the entire universe does. It's all about change, and now I welcome it instead of resisting it.
Well, there's a credo that I stand by. The only constant in life is change, and only with change comes opportunity.
I couldn't finish the show with a better saying or quote. So thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you so much, Steve.
And everybody, you were just tuned into the Mind and Body and Soul Show on Conscious Evolution Media, and we will be back on the network next week, same time, same place, always on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon, and have a great and fantastic week with lots of changes, by the way. Bye, Jan.
Bye-bye.
You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. To Today's podcast is brought to you by ObesityHotline.com, the silent killer, providing support and encouragement in the prevention of this rising epidemic. Featuring the Body by Vi Challenge. Is there a quick answer to the question? Go to www.obesityhotline.com.